What is a double standard that really bothers you? I'm still in awe over the double standard with which people treat the credibility of information. If it confirms their worldview, they are happy to accept extraordinary information from partisan blogs, tabloids, and columnists with no further confirmation. But if it challenges their worldview, good luck convincing them of anything. I argued with a dude who decided to trust the Washington Examiner's outright lie about the IRS bank reporting proposal. I gave him a link to the actual proposal published on the Treasury's website, pointed him to the exact page that details the proposal, and he still dismissed the information as partisan deceit. You get in ahead of everyone else, and no one notices or cares. But, God forbid, you depart before everyone else and are a slug. No, I worked the same number of hours, if not more, than you. You weren't here to see it, but that doesn't mean I wasn't there. Don't go to work school if you're sick, but if you miss schoolwork you're in trouble. I got my first job back in late September, early October, and I loved it. The company was great and it was a very welcoming environment. A few of my coworkers disagreed, but this was my first job and I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I worked there for about a month, all week, about 8-hour shifts. A few were longer. It took longer to close and I start getting pain in my legs, knees. I push it off as exhaustion over exertion and keep going, thinking that I'm just not used to working this hard. 2 days later I can't get up on my own. Thankfully I have 2 days off, so I'm like, okay, I'll rotate between icing and heating my knees, legs. Doesn't work. On the day before I go in I call and explain that I can't walk, but they just got a truck and so I felt bad and went in anyways. Huge mistake. It makes everything worse even though I'm only scheduled for 2 hours. I keep taking more days off. If I can't walk, how can they expect me to work? All the while I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. So I'm not just sitting around doing nothing about it. My supervisors are getting annoyed with me at this point, but I still can't hardly move. Everything comes to a head when one day after dinner I attempt to stand up and there is a very sickening crack noise. I collapsed back into my chair. My legs hurt so badly. That was the night I went to the hospital. Big shock, but that didn't do anything for me. They pretty much tell me I should be fine. I try to go back to work but end up leaving early to go to another ABC. Something is wrong. I get a call from one of my supervisors and I'm told that they don't accept hospital notes and that I need to come in more. Then later I get another call that they do accept hospital notes, but I didn't bring any in. Since I was told they didn't accept them, I didn't ask for any. They can only assume I'm self-prescribing my rest. They also start blaming me for my injury pain. I quit on the spot. To this day I can barely walk by myself. I've experienced this so many times. Additionally, me needing time off to look after my girlfriend. She has epilepsy, using my personal leave for it. Getting told off for using that as personal leave is for having a rest, not caring for others. So I took sick leave for it, then got a disciplinary for using too much sick leave. I have to show up on time for an interview, but it's fine when an interviewer is late. There's a huge difference between a personal emergency and poor planning. Yup, got scheduled for an interview once. Employer says they would email and text me the location on where the interview would take place for the next day. Waited hours and still no notification. 2 days later the employer called and asked why I didn't show up for the interview. I told them they never sent the information on where to meet and added I was no longer interested in the position. Companies doing SaaS for people to not litter and recycle their products when they themselves are producing products that mostly cannot be properly recycled and end up in landfills anyway. Bonus points for taxes we pay for recycling programs in our cities. Learning how to do girls' hair. Around my area a man would be called gay by doing girls' hair. I wanna learn and get better at doing my 5-year-old daughter's hair. Nothing extreme, just the regular nice stuff I guess. Braids, ponytails and other cool stuff like that. Men around here only do men's hair, but women can do both men's and women's hair. Why can't I, a male in my 20s, be a babysitter? I love kids and I'm great with them, but exactly 0 people take me seriously. No replies back to public ads and 0 friends consider it anything more than a joke of an offer. I grew raised in a country that does not encourage the use of personal vehicles. There is a lot of public transportation available. As a result, I have very little mechanical expertise. My white girlfriend, who who grew up in the country and whose father is a mechanic, has spent her entire life tinkering with automobiles. When we go to an auto parts store to get something, the salespeople never say anything to her. Even if they ask me a question and she answers, they continue to talk to me as if she doesn't exist. It's unbelievable. They don't seem to notice her. She's gone to job interviews for mechanical jobs where the interviewer asks her extremely simple and dismissive questions because they don't believe she can understand what they're asking. Can't stay alone for too long. I understand this in children, but I do not in teens. Why can't I take a long shower without having someone think I'm masturbating? I like the warm water on my skin. Start masturbating in the living room. Maintain eye contact. Assert dominance. I promise you, people will stop assuming you're masturbating in the shower. Playing a video game in the evening is considered a bad habit and bad for you, yet the same people who say that spend every minute home either watching TV or on their phone. Hung out drinking with a female friend of mine once. She couldn't drive home, so I offered to let her crash on my couch. She actually said, okay, but we're not having sex. I was like, cool, didn't want to anyways, since I'm trying to talk to someone else, and you have a boyfriend. I wake up at 4 AM to discover she must have changed her mind because my boxers are at my ankles and she's on top of me just going for a ride. I told some of my friends, and it was like that episode of South Park. Everyone's response was, nice. But had it been the other way around? You were raped. Parenting expectations. My wife died when my kids were 11 months and 2 years old. When I took the kids to the grocery store, without fail I'd get comments like, oh, daddy's day out. Breaking point for me was taking them out to eat. I sat there for 20 minutes after being seated, and finally the server came back to the table and goes, did you want to try ordering for the kids or are we still waiting for mom? I straight up said to her, well, we'd be waiting a long time because she's dead. I don't need to try, I can order just fine. I was a single dad for several years when my daughter was young. The worst one was going clothing shopping, and the store employees telling me I couldn't take her into a changing room. No, she's 6. She's not going in there alone. I used to work at a place where the importance hierarchy was people with kids, married people, no kids, single people. At that time, we were meeting to discuss a big release with a lot of things happening. The head honcho said, okay, Dulce et Banana will come in at 230 AM to start something, and moved on to the next item. I said, wait, how is that my job? With no discussion because it's either you or Dave, and Dave's got 2 kids. You're single, of course it's to you. I pointed out Dave's kids will be sound asleep at 230 AM and maybe I should find a kid who wants in on the deal, and got written up for it. Frick them. They went out of business a year later anyway. I've debated lying about having a kid at a job before. Snitches get stitches mentality never made sense to me in school. Like, you can bully me, verbally abuse me, steal my stuff and hit me. People are okay with that. But if I drop someone in it and they get in trouble for their own actions, somehow that is worse. Why should I let someone be an butthole to me? People use this expression to manipulate the weaker. Also, snitching generally refers to ratting out your own partner, especially if it benefits the snitch. I, 30F, have been doing Muay Thai for a couple of years, and at my current gym we have twice a week classes where we do light touch sparring. This means light or no contact. Most of the big guys and strong fighters get the message, but most older guys, newer guys, and several women girls don't seem to think this rule applies to them and come in throwing haymakers and full force kicks, and they don't really get stopped. Some of us have actual fights coming up and we don't want to get injured the week before because someone had something to prove. Chemical for industrial use. 6-hour training on hazardous materials and piles of paperwork talking about how dangerous it is. Same exact chemical for home use. Pretty marketing and keep out of reach of children and size 6 font. To be fair, most home quality cleaning chemicals are dilute enough to not require industrial level safety procedures to be used safely. Sure, bleach isn't something you should screw around with, but it's not going to melt your skin like industrial strength base can. Woman is good with kids equals man is good with kids equals better keep an eye on him. He is up to something. Or let's just attack him anyway. Better safe than sorry. projects and initiatives for the betterment of society, social safety net, healthcare, superannuation, infrastructure, drain the system, but when it's time to bail out large corporations, increase wages of already rich and successful people tenfold, or pay someone large amounts for a dodgy little scheme on the side, there's seemingly endless cash lying around. Frick politicians. Last night a group of girls asked to see my male butt and nobody batted an eye. I can guarantee that if I asked to see their butt I would have been bruised like UHH. Something that gets bruised a lot, but for real, that stuff gets annoying. Bruised worse than a banana that just came out of the dryer. That a man can't be at a park with young children without being creepy. I had my niece and nephew, they are a little darker than me and have curly hair because of their dad. My sister and I are of a lighter complexion and have straight hair. This lady had the audacity to ask them if they were okay and needed help to get away from me. They told them I was their mom's brother. Lady didn't believe them and called the cops. Luckily the cop that came knew my brother-in-law and said I was free to go. I feel like this is a very American Western thing. I've seen lots of fathers take their kids to park here in India and it never raises eyebrows. I live in a country where women can retire 5 years early and military draft is male only. Fortunately it was put on hold. A double standard that affects me constantly is it's socially acceptable to ask people why are you so skinny, but it's totally unacceptable and inappropriate to ask people why are you so fat. I myself as a male am called skinny and have been called anorexic. Unknown to people there are reasons I am the size I am due to medical issues. I've had times where people who were fairly overweight would ask me, man you're so skinny, and I constantly think in my head what would happen if I said, man you're so fat. Honestly, I don't think anyone should comment on a stranger's physical appearance as a general rule. It's often rude, nearly always uncalled for, and almost never has a purpose. It's much harder for a female mechanic when men assume you don't know what you're doing and request a man to inspect your work. My wife's a service writer. When she worked for a luxury brand whose core customers were old white dudes, she was constantly badgered by crap like this. And now she works for a more normal brand and hasn't been challenged by customers or staff there at all. My mom was a mechanic in the muscle car era. It sucks you still have to deal with this garbage. Keep fighting the good fight. Girls can join Boy Scouts but boys can't join Girl Scouts. What if my son wants to do crafts, learn songs, and sell cookies? I think we should do away with the whole Boys and Girls Scouts thing. Rename it like Wood Scouts and Craft Scouts or some crap like that. Have it open to anyone. It fixes both issues. In the US, you're required by law when you turn 18 to sign up for selective service because according to the government, you're considered an adult who can be drafted into the military at a time of war if needed, but you're not allowed to purchase or consume alcoholic beverages until you're 21 because you're too young otherwise. So at 18 I can legally be forced to go overseas and partake in combat where I can get my arms and legs blown off and or end up with severe PTSD for life or even killed. But God forbid I want to enjoy a cold beer after work. Yup, that makes a lot of freaking sense. It really blows my mind that the US's age limit is 21, when ours, Canada, is 18 or 19, depending on which province. I would have thought that at some point, it would have dropped to at least 19. A lot of people think that being anti-white is a way to be anti-racist. That itself is literally by definition an act of racism. If a mom works outside the home she's an absentee parent and someone else is raising their kids. When a dad works he's supporting the family, but not a bad parent. I am physically much more able compared to my co-workers and as a result I get the dirty work but they get paid more despite us having about equal abilities in the primary work we do. I had a woman pretend to and joke about roofieing my drink at the hotel bar last night when I stepped away for a smoke. Just laughed along, but God forbid it was the other way. I'd probably have been kicked out of the bar and had the police called on me. How if a young boy sleeps with an older woman it's an accomplishment and people celebrate the young boy, but if it's the other way around the guy is punished 99% of the time and death is wished at him. It should be equally as bad and taken equally as serious. thinking it's okay to touch a man without his consent. It's unacceptable to touch any woman without her consent, but the same rule should be applied to men as well. This reminds me of Henry Cavill. There's a compilation on YouTube where he's trying to promote his show movie, but everyone is just talking about his body and he's clearly uncomfortable with this. But if they did that to a woman, there would be outrage. Men can be assaulted, harassed and objectified too. Being forced to sing outside in freezing weather, 8 feet apart, under a tent, in masks for college chorus during covered by the basketball team, just chilling maskless in the gym, getting all close and personal while playing. Money makes the world go round. Thus, at a liberal arts university no less, arts, sports. Smoker takes a break to go outside to smoke and that's perfectly okay. Non-smoker steps outside for some fresh air and that's a big problem. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.